B'dvach, it's the 15th of Av today, and the Gemara says about the 15th of Av, there is no greater holiday than the 15th of Av. And one of the reasons why this holiday is so special is because the full light of the Jewish people is connected to the full light of the moon. So every holiday is therefore associated with the 15th day of the month because the 15th day of the month is the day when the moon shines fully. So the 15th day of Tishrei is Sukkot, the 15th day of Nisan is Passover, and so every 15th is special for the Jewish people. But the 15th of Av is even more special. In fact, it's not just more special, it's the greatest holiday. It's the light of Mashiach is what shines today. The reason for this is because the the fullness of the moon comes after the moon's waxing and waning and becoming invisible. And so there's a concept in Hasidus that every descent is the purpose of an ascent. And the greater the descent, the higher the ascent. So since the ninth of Av is the greatest descent, it's the most difficult time that we ever had. Therefore, the fullness of the moon this month is emblematic of the full light of the Jewish people with the coming of Mashiach. The 15th of the month of Av is an expression of the glory of the Jewish people that will be fully realized when Mashiach comes. We'll see when Mashiach comes the full revelation of what happens today in the 15th of Av. So there's a taste of that shines today. We see today something of the coming of Mashiach. So on that note, I wanted to share stories about the city of Kherson. I shared a few weeks ago about the Alter Rebbe's first emissary to Kherson, Hillel Parcher, who was sent there by Tzemach Tzedek and the Mittler Rebbe to inspire Jews who lived in these remote regions. The reason they lived there is because the agriculture in those regions was very good. Thank you. And because of such good agriculture, so the Baal Shem Tov was very passionate about Jews working with their hands in agriculture. And there were many colonies that were set up in these remote regions in Ukraine, in Kherson. And so Reb Hillel was sent by the Tzemach Tzedek in order to inspire the Jews there who are living far away from the main center cities of Jewish life. Someone actually asked me, did Reb Hillel continue doing this his whole life? I didn't know, but I just found out that Reb Hillel did this his whole life until he passed away. In fact, he passed away in Kherson because he was in the middle of a trip inspiring Jews. He traveled his whole life to inspire these people in these remote villages. And that's when he passed away on the 11th of Av. This past week was the anniversary of his passing on this journey, as sent by the Mittler Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek. So I wanted to share a story about Reb Hillel, another story about Reb Hillel, and another story about the present emissary of the Rebbe to Kherson, to Ukraine, and it really highlights the essence of the mission. So let's go back to the time of Reb Hillel Paracher. Hillel Paracher passed away again, 11th of Av, in Tafresh Chav Daled, in the year, I want to say 1864. That makes sense? Yeah, I think 1864. So whenever he came to a town, he had such love for everyone that it was felt by the people in town. Everyone in town would come out to greet him. The previous Rebbe writes, in the whole atmosphere of Reb Hillel, for miles around him, you wouldn't sense any sense of arrogance. Although he was so great in his Torah knowledge and in his service of Hashem, there was not a trace of arrogance you felt in 10 vyors. The vyors is a distance in Russian. You didn't feel arrogance in the whole area. And when Hillel would come to a town, everyone would come out, men, women, and children. They would all greet him with a big Shalom Aleichem, the big greeting. So Reb Hillel was able to see in people their inner goodness. As it says in Tanya, that we're really all brothers because we come from one father. And Reb Hillel was able to sense that. And so that's why people responded to him. There are a lot of people today who look at Jews who were not given the opportunity to study about Judaism when they were younger, and they look at them with disdain. How come they're not observing Torah more? But Reb Hillel, and because they're so critical of themselves, they're critical of others. But Reb Hillel, the name Hillel means to give light. So he was able to look at people deeper, and from their inner goodness to help them fix their exterior issues. Like his namesake, Hillel Azakin, of the Talmud, was able to see in everyone their goodness. So Rabbi Hillel, when he would come to a village, he would share Hasidus. He would share these deep Hasidic teachings. And even his easiest teachings were far beyond the understanding of people in the villages. The Tzemach Tzedek had told him that the Neshama understands Hasidus, and he brought a verse dripping from Lebanon, and that verse indicates that there is Lamed Bein Sivas Chachma Nun Sharibina. There are 32 paths of wisdom and 50 gates of understanding. And basically, he was saying that the soul has inside it, it's equipped to understand the teachings of Chassidus. But on the simple level, people there had no idea what he was saying. He was saying Chassidus, and one village he visited, there were so many people that wanted to hear him that there was no place, there's no house, there's no synagogue that could house the amount of people that had come to see him. So they had to come in the street. And they're in the street. They arranged some kind of setup where he could share Chassidus, and everyone's there. And Rabbi Hillel sensed people were crying. He sensed their tears. They were crying because it wasn't an external cry. It wasn't a cry from some negligible circumstance. It was a deep cry that they felt they weren't able to really absorb. They knew this was special. Their souls felt this was special. He's telling them Chassidus, but they couldn't understand it, and it bothered them. And Rabbi Hillel sensed their tears. He sensed their pain. So after he finished the teaching, Rabbi Hillel said the following. Rabbi Hillel said that a Torah is written on a kosher piece of parchment. In order for a Torah to be kosher, the letters have to be what's called mukaf kavil. And in order for a letter in the Torah to be kosher, it has to be completely surrounded by empty parchment. It cannot be touching in any other letter. It has to have some empty space around it for it to be considered a kosher letter. If it's touching another letter, it's not kosher. So Rabbi Hillel said that you cannot imagine, said Rabbi Hillel, the great joy in heaven from the very gathering of Jews together. And he said, on this parchment, you could write the greatest Torah. On this parchment of the joy of heaven, of Jews gathering together, you could write the greatest Torah. What did he mean? There are different kinds of light Chassidus talks about. There's a light that is in a vessel, and there's a light which is transcendent. The letters of the Torah, each letter has a vessel, has a meaning. Each letter has a meaning. The shape of the letter has a meaning. The number of the letter has a meaning. The name of the letter has a meaning. It's a name, it's a letter, it's a number, and it has a beginning and an end of what it means. But the parchment that the letters are written on represent the infinite light of Hashem. So Rabbi Hillel was able to see in every Jew the essence of their soul. He was able to see the infinite light of Hashem. So Rabbi Hillel was basically telling them, don't feel bad that you don't understand. The fact that we all got together, that's what's important. The fact that we got together, that's what allows me to share these words of Chassidus. This is the best parchment for Torah to be written on. The gathering of Jews together, even if they don't understand what's being said, that itself brings such joy in heaven. Rabbi Hillel was basically telling them, your soul understands. And I see in you the whiteness of the parchment of the soul, the transcendent light. Therefore, you don't need to cry. Your presence here brings joy in heaven, and your soul deeply understands everything. So this is a very fundamental lesson, especially as we're coming to the 15th of Av, when we have the light of Mashiach, to see that in others. So on that note, I want to share with you a story about Rabbi Yossi Wolf, who is today the Rebbe's emissary in the city where Rabbi Hillel was buried. in Kherson. And of course, since the war in Ukraine, the kind of sacrifice that he needed to have is immeasurable. I think about him because Rabbi Wolf asked the Rebbe if he should move to LA or to Kherson. LA seemed to be a more appropriate choice. He's Israeli, a lot of Israelis in LA. And the Rebbe was after the Rebbe's stroke, when the Rebbe was responding only with a shake of his head. And the Rebbe said no to LA, yes to Kherson. That's where his mission is. Rabbi Wolf and his brothers are in different cities in that region. One brother is in Odessa. One brother is in another city there. And so he just had a crazy miracle happen to him more recently. And I think I'll start with the miracle happened to him when the war began. Chaim. I don't think we could really understand the kind of sacrifice that the Rebbe's emissaries to Ukraine have in staying in their communities. A few days after the Russians invaded the Ukraine and they conquered the city of Kherson, and the Russian tanks came in, and they basically hundreds of people were killed immediately when the Russians came in, and the tanks are there, and there's soldiers in every corner, and there was a curfew, and you weren't allowed to walk in the street. Maximum one or two people could walk in the street by themselves. It's very, very scary. So at nighttime you couldn't walk in the street, and during the daytime when the sun rose, it was also very dangerous. No one really walked out of their house. So Rabbi Wolf encouraged his community. People in his community, I mean, they viewed him as their rabbi, not just as a rabbi, but as a rebbe, like he's the rebbe's emissary, and they really listened to him. They stay at home, guys. Don't leave your house. But there was an issue. The issue was there were a lot of people in his community that had needed medicine. Some had issues with their thyroid gland, some had diabetes, and they needed medicine, and it was impossible to buy medicine in the Ukraine. It could be that the reason why people had these conditions, many people have these conditions today in Kherson, is because of the reactor's explosion in Chernobyl years ago in 1992, I believe, 91. So because of that, a lot of people could be it's because of that. But either way, there are a lot of people in the community that needed medicine. And where's get the medicine from? The closest place to get the medicine from is on the other side of the border. How's he going to get there? So he couldn't reach his brother in Odessa, but he had another brother, Rabbi Binyamin Wolf, who lives in this Crimean peninsula in a city there called Samaspol. So he reached his brother. He told his brother what he needed, and so when the Russians entered, um, and they conquered the only city the Russians conquered fully was the city of Kherson, and the when the Russians entered and they cut off all ties with the Ukraine, so this rabbi was really at a loss. How is he going to get the medicine from Ukraine and bring it back? So he had to go to this bridge where his brother would meet up on one side of the bridge, he'd be on the other side of the bridge, and he'd have to get the medicine from the other side of the bridge. But how is he get the medicine from the other side of the bridge? Hire a driver. No driver wants to go. No driver wants to go because it's really dangerous. His brother's on the other side with the medicine, but no one wants to go. So what would you do? I know what a Baruch would do. That's what he did. He went himself. He went himself, and because no one else wanted to go, and he realized people's lives were in danger, and so his plan was to travel specifically during the daytime, because at nighttime the soldiers shoot without questions. During the daytime, they could see at least that you're not armed. So before he went to travel in this very dangerous place, I mean, the bridges. Just to give you an idea, the reason the Russians retreated eventually from the west of the bridge to the east of the bridge eventually was because the bridge Antonovsky, when it was destroyed, so the Russians soldiers were basically like alone under the attack of the Ukrainian soldiers. So the bridges are really key places which were bombed again and again. So this was a different bridge. This was um, the bridge he needed to go to was called. Um, I could tell you the name of the bridge, but I'll probably mispronounce it anyways. So, anyways, he is Armyansk. He has to go across the Armyansk bridge and get the medicine. Goes across the bridge, he gets the medicine, and he has the medicine, but he's very scared. He calls up his friend Gedalia in America. He doesn't say his last name. Gedalia is one of the Rebbe's emissaries here in America. He says, Gedalia, I'm in a very dangerous place right now. I mean, it was right when the war started. The whole world knew how dangerous it was. He says, Gedalia, I'm doing this. I'm risking my life, and I need you to do something for me. I mean, this is a soul thing. I can't. We can't explain this. It's just a soul thing. He says to Gedalia, I want you to put on film with someone who has never put on film before and to pray for me, and in that merit I'll be safe. That's what he told Gedalia. Gedalia, of course, agrees. It's a lot easier to put on film with someone who hasn't put on film before and to travel in a place where your life is in danger, for real. Anyway, so ordinarily this trip would be a 2-hour journey back home, back to Kherson. But because of all the roadblocks and examinations, it took a long time. And it was dark already. And there's a lot of roadblocks. Danger is greater. It's a double danger. Double danger because it's hard to travel when it's so dark. On the other hand, the soldiers are more suspicious at night. Who's traveling at night? So you have to travel with very low lights, and you have to put on the light inside the car so people could see that you're not armed. So in every roadblock, you're there for a couple of minutes. It's a long trip. So he continued driving in the heart of darkness. And he's driving and he gets lost because it's hard to see what's going on and he's lost. And he pulls to the side to check where he is. And then it happens. All of a sudden he hears gunfire above his head. He jumps on the floor outside the car and just waits there, barely breathing. What happened was that he had entered a Russian ambush site. The Russians had set up this site to ambush anybody that was suspicious. And here, the most suspicious thing that could possibly be, he's driving this Jeep with tinted windows, it's dark, and the Russians right away they shot. So he started to scream, "Hey, I'm a rabbi of the Jewish community in Kherson. I just want to bring some medicine. Please don't shoot. Please don't shoot." And all of a sudden, as he's there on the floor, just after being shot at, right? And he's screaming at them, "Please don't shoot." All of a sudden, his phone, he gets a message, a WhatsApp message. WhatsApp message. He sees his friend Gedalia that sent him a message, a picture of some 60-year-old Jewish man here in America putting on film for the first time in his life. Gedalia messages him, "Hey, I found someone didn't put on film as you requested, and we're praying for you that you should be safe." That's what sees at that moment when the gunfire um, just stopped. The Russians come over to him. Russians say, um, "Come with us. It's not clear to us why you're here at this hour. You're crazy." But they told him everything's okay. It's good you got here, they told him, because you met us. We only shot warning shots. That's what we shot. We knew we weren't going to hit you. We shot warning shots. But if you kept on going and you got to our friends don't shoot warning shots. And the next roadblock with it, they would shoot without asking questions. So if you come at nighttime and you are not a army vehicle, you would get shot. So you're really lucky that we stopped you here. Anyway, 6 o'clock in the morning, he stayed there the night. 6 o'clock in the morning, he continues to travel back to the city. He gets through the last roadblock and gets Baruch Hashem back to the city with the medicine. And he says he understood then the idea of shlichus. I'm just sharing with you his soul words. I don't know. I don't know what they mean exactly. So I felt the soul. I felt what shlichus means. The Rebbe's mission is. Here, there's a Jew in America putting on film with somebody, and they're praying for me over here to bring medicine back to Kherson. There's a connection here. There's something over here that's otherworldly. That's a story he shared that happened beginning the word. I'll share with you one more story that happened more recently. Every Shabbos, he takes a trip, Rabbi Wolf, from Odessa to Kherson to be there with his community. And he gets there to cook for Shabbos with his wife, with his daughter. And he usually arrives there on Thursday. And so when he's getting there on Thursday, there's enough time to prepare for Shabbos and to cook and everything. The road to Kherson, that's the where all the that's the road to Kherson is what provides life to the city. The fact that the people are able to travel on the road to get there. And the Russians, although they retreated to the east of the Dnieper River, but they are a few kilometers away, and they're still shooting, and it's dangerous. So there's also drones that are constantly bombing in that area. So which cars do they bomb? Anything that looks suspicious. So he is driving back to Kherson, and driving by day, safer by day, and all of a sudden, a kilometer and a half before he gets to the army post and the entrance of the city, he sees a drone which has a bomb. And he didn't have time to stop the car and jump out of the car when the drone appears. So the drone explodes, and there's now like this ball of fire in front of the rabbi in the car. But it was amazing. What happened was that the drone hit in a way that forced the hood of the car to open, and the airbags go off. So the airbags and the hood stopped the explosion from hurting, and none of the passengers were hurt at all. If it would have been a millimeter higher, they would all been killed. But it hit exactly the spot that they were protected because it forced the hood open, and then Baruch Hashem, they were saved. So bottom line is, Chaim V'rach. The Rebbe's mission to Kherson continues. He says, "I'm not leaving the community. I don't care how dangerous it is. The Rebbe sent me here. I mean, obviously, there's halacha of when you're allowed to stay, allowed to go." And he consulted who he consulted with, and that's where he is. He says, "I'm not leaving the Jews here until the last Jew is here. I'm not leaving. The Rebbe sent me here, and I have to take care of them." So it sounds like a nice slogan, but this guy is there. He's risking his life. It makes you really understand the whole concept of shlichus and the responsibility we have for each other, what it really means. And that's, I think, which expresses what this day is about, 15th of Av, light of Mashiach, that to go beyond ourselves, to go beyond our limitations, and to reach out, to use the light of Mashiach within us, to go beyond and to help another Jew. That's what it's about. So I wanted to share tonight. Any questions or comments? Look at the